영권
돌아갑니다. 공동입니다. 공동입니다. 역전을 만듭니다. 2점의 갈비를.
Winners of the AFC Champions League 2020, Ulsan Hyundai.
You're listening to the K-League United podcast, proud partner of Football Nation Radio.
Hello, 안녕하세요. Ryan Walters back in the Kim Do-hoon bunker, where it all began, where it all belongs. And I'm joined this week by my usual co-host, the one and only Matthew Binns.
Hello.
And I say one and only because it's just you and me, buddy.
Yeah, Peter's a bit busy down at the dentist.
Pete is in his, I think, 75th dentist appointment, roughly his 75th dentist appointment of the year. Poor Pete is getting an implant today, which I know all about. It's not tremendously great. Fun fact for those that don't know, and maybe this is just a Korea thing, but when they put in the implant, which is a screw, it's just a regular old like hardware store screw that goes into your gum line. They used a socket wrench on that, man. I was just in the dentist chair and I look over and dude's just got a socket wrench just going to town. Yeah. Speaking of pain,
starting the pod strong kit this week with some good dentist work.
Yeah, on the note of pain, congratulations on your victory.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Super happy about Jeonbuk beating Ulsan, but we're going to talk about that in a little bit because today we are going to go ahead and get started. We're going to move on from dentistry. That's a different podcast called Torture This Week, and nobody wants to listen to that. Anyway, off to a hot start, off to a flyer today. Anyway, we're going to talk about the K-League 2 playoff final. We say that we got to really work on these names because that's the K-League 2 playoff final, but then there's the promotion relegation playoff, which is actually the final. But anyway, Paul and I went down to Anyang for that one where he saw Daejeon Hana Citizen come away winners in what was a really, really good game. And he's going to join us shortly to talk about that. And then Matthew and I are going to come back and talk about Final B, where I did the double on Sunday, went to Anyang for the early game, and then made it all the way over to Seoul Olympic Stadium, not World Cup Stadium, to see FC Seoul play. That was weird. That was real weird, being over there and seeing red and black everywhere while Seoul Eland finished their season elsewhere. Anyway, we'll talk about their big win over Songnam and what else is going on in Final B. Take a break, come back, talk about Final A, where that'll just be a short segment. There's nothing I really want to talk about there, so we're just going to make that quick. And then, as always, we have the mailbag, which we got a couple of questions in beforehand. But as always, if you'd like to get those in, please do so throughout the show. But before we can get into any of that, Matthew, there's a little bit going on the websites these days.
Yeah, it's it's the international break, but there are still things going on. We have on K-League.com, K-League Internationals preview. There are 17 K-League players in the Korean national team, including a first call-up for the Golden Gunny. Crunch time for Canada as well, who are on the cusp of a first World Cup since 1986. That includes Daniel Henry from Suwon Blue Wings. And there's a potential K-League derby when Georgia, who Bako plays for, take on Uzbekistan. Take on Alibayev's Uzbekistan, rather. I should
there
say.
It is. Yeah. Well, I'll be pulling for Georgia in that one for reasons. If you're on Twitter, you know. Anyway, thank you, Matthew. That's what's going on the website. And a lot of that has been written by Paul Neat. And, well, we can't really go any further without bringing the man himself in. So to talk about the K-League 2 playoff final, earlier today, I spoke with Paul Neat. Thanks so much for joining today. You are Daejeoned out there.
I am indeed, yes. Still in an excellent mood, as you might probably
say. The
guess.
Smile is there for those watching live.
I think if you look at the view numbers on the Twitter videos of the goal highlights, I think at least 2/3 of me just watching them over and over again. That Bio second, so his first goal and Daejeon's second goal, what a move that was. We'll get to that later, but I can't stop watching it. I can't stop watching it.
Well, you touched on something that I want to get into before we get into any of this. We went to the game together, but we weren't together because I was sitting in the media zone with a lot of the Anyang VIPs who sit right next to the media zone because there are tables there. And it was a good atmosphere there. It was really fun to have people there. But every single time Daejeon scored, well, not every time. The first goal, they were at the other end, but you were on the right end of things and you were in the away section. And I just want to start, like, it's been 2 years since we've been able to do anything like that. So just what was it like being back in the stands again?
Oh, it was so good. It was, and actually, I have to say, well done to Anyang in the way that they organised it, because they gave the away section a really tight little corner rather than giving like a full end.
Sure.
Where everybody could be spaced out, and it was really tight, and it felt like an away game in the UK, you know, where you travel to Bournemouth on a Tuesday night and it's really tight. Everybody's there together, and it was like a carnival atmosphere. It was fantastic. And although the fans weren't allowed to sing and chant, they just couldn't help themselves at times, you know. After that first goal by Park Jin-sop, it just came out of them, you know. It just came out, and these organically, everybody just started singing, and it felt so good. And yeah, it was just great. What a great afternoon, great day, and it was just so good to be back amongst the fans again.
Yeah, and it was we saw a great game, and yeah, every single time Daejeon scored, I was just kind of looking over to the away end, and like you say, I think it was really nice having it all condensed in like that, because usually at Anyang it's the entire away end there behind the goal, and everybody kind of spreads out, and I think it looked a lot better, and I think it really did help the atmosphere there, because the Anyang fans showed up as well. The supporter section was pretty close to full for them, and so it was just another game that it was just so nice to hear the drums and the chants from both supporter sections. Not that the chants were supposed to be there, but
there were some very scary looking military type guards that came in. Didn't say anything, but didn't need to. The look alone was menacing enough to make us all just go, okay, let's just sit down, lads. Let's just take it easy. They were really big blokes, let's just say that. But I think what I want to point out is, as I spoke about on Monday on Arirang, was the way that the K-League are handling spectators a bit different from KBO. In KBO, obviously, it's the whole stadium is fully vaxxed zones. Whereas in K-League, obviously, it's little designated sections. So what is normally the away end at Anyang, that was the non-vaxxed area.
Sure.
And then the home supporter areas, obviously, were all for fully vaxxed. And then the away end, which I thought was quite good that the away end was fully vaxxed. But for me, I had to, it's not quite been 2 weeks yet since I had my second shot of the COVID vaccine. So I had to get a PCR test beforehand. But it was fairly straightforward. They didn't check. It didn't take too long to get through in the away end. They didn't check the QR code. They just looked at the sort of vaccine pass on your phone and looked at the date. Or in my case, they looked at my the text I got from my PCR test that came through. But all in all, it was great day, great to be back amongst the fans, see some familiar faces, and I still can't quite believe that it's happened. To be honest, the result and the performance and stuff, which we'll get to later.
Well, let's hop into it right now. Let's talk about the game itself, because we got a good game out of this as well. I think I wasn't as worried going into this one as I was when it was Jeonnam, for several reasons, because it was Jeonnam, so my nerves were shot. But I figured that one was going to be really cagey, and I kind of figured it'd be a 0-0, to be honest. This one, with Anyang's firepower and the way that you guys have played head-to-head this year, it seemed like we were going to get a good game, and we got a great game out of this. What were your thoughts on the game overall?
It was a great game. It was a very good advert for the K-League and for, the K2 party, as you like to put it. It was fantastic. The first half I thought was quite tense. Daejeon really couldn't find a rhythm, and when they went a goal down after 13 minutes, that was really an awful bit of defending there by Lee Ji-sol and Lee Jong-hyun, the Trucker brothers, to me, to you kind of thing. It was just, once that happened, I just thought, this has the potential to be a really, 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 one of those days. But Anyang scored early, perhaps a bit too early in the 13th minute. And then I thought it looked like the game was kind of running away from Daejeon a little bit, that nothing was really working. Anything into the final third was a bit rushed, and there was no composure. They couldn't get the best players on the ball, Lee Hyun-sik and Masa, who were those two kind of creators in the final third. But then the captain, who is playing as a centre back these days. In this back three that we've been playing, he normally a midfielder, really a number 8. He's been playing as that central defender in a back three, and he found himself on the edge of the box. Great little pass from Wong Gi-jong, and then what a goal! I mean, if you watch the replay, the angle from behind the goal, especially because you can see the curl on it, it looks like it's going to go wide at one point, and then it manages to sort of nestle into the top corner. But that was what I would call a captain's goal. It was at a time when they needed it. They needed something, some kind of inspiration, and that gave them a huge lift at that point. They started to believe again. It kind of took the wind out of the sails of Anyang, who couldn't really get back into it at that point. They could have had a red card, perhaps ought to have done. That was a stamp, in my opinion. I forgot the name of the player, but it was a stamp. They got away with it, and I was kind of concerned that getting a yellow card and not a red might have given Anyang a little bit of a lift, because you think, we could be down to 10 men here, but now we're not. It's 11v11. It's time to reset and go again. But I thought they were very lucky.
We talked about that a little bit post-match, and I guess my confusion there is that if it's a stamp, it's a red. If it's not a stamp and it's unintentional, it's not a foul. So I don't really understand the yellow card there, because it's either a red or it's nothing.
Right.
So that was a weird one, and that was our first VAR instance of the day.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to look at the full match replay and note down the time of how long it took and how many times that the referee looked at it, because there's a long time there that he spent looking at that, right? And like myself and others around me, we opened up our phones, went on Naver and had the match on, and we were watching it, and we were all saying, "Oh, look, this is definitely a red card." It showed the replay several times. I was like, "Yeah, gotta be." So when the referee came out, and we were all on our feet, ready to sort of celebrate the fact that it's going to be a red card, and then no one foresaw what was going to happen next, the yellow card. So I just think
I had the red card tweet ready to go.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I was just waiting to hit send.
Yeah, I think the referee thought, well, I have to do something. I have to give something for the time I've just wasted. But I think, all in all, what I think was the biggest turning point in the game, that could have been a turning point, that red card. It obviously wasn't. Bio coming on, that was the turning point. He came on in the 63rd minute. Now, I had a look last night to see what time normally he comes on in this impact sub role. And on average, it was the 73rd minute. Sometimes for the last 5. One of those was in the 40. He came on at half time. That kind of throws the numbers out a little bit. So the manager, Lee Min-sung, he kind of recognized that we have to make this sub early, and he did. Credit to him. And he came on, and Bio was fantastic. His touches were very, very smart. His little balls around the corner were reaching their intended target. His link-up play was fantastic. The movement and the finish for the goal, because he was involved in the build-up as well. And then he had the composure to put that in the back of the net. And I was talking to Felipe, who runs Daejeon Citizen Brazil on Twitter, and he had a great point. He said that Bio needs the fans. He needs the fans. He feeds off them, and it was like a light bulb moment. He does. And I agree with him, and I said, that is true. But also, I think confidence. You see what confidence does to him. And he had a few other shots as well. And the third goal, when he picked up that loose ball and bent it into the corner, he doesn't make that shot if he hasn't scored the first.
Sure.
Because he might have passed that, He was probably in a better place to give it to somebody else. And then basically, what I would say his performance was Dayan in his peak. That was like the type of touches, the way that he scored the goals, the positions on the pitch where he had shots from. That was 2012 Dayan. Yeah, in his pump. So I would say that it was fantastic for him. I still think in the final, even over both legs, certainly for the second leg, we'll probably still see Bio as a sub coming on as an impact sub. Maybe he'll play the first leg. I don't know, but it's clearly working. He has had a good impact coming off the bench. But at the other end of the field, I think Daejeon defended very well as well. They were very resolute. Anyang had a really, really good go. They look dangerous on the break. They have, pace. You have good forwards like Jonathan Moya and Acosti and Kim Gong-jung. So they had chances, or they had moments in the final third to hurt Daejeon, but they just defended so well. And they had, one final thing I want to say about the match itself. There's one thing I noticed after, Ryan, you gave me the team sheet. So thanks again for that. The team sheet from the press area. I noticed that the VAR referee was Kim Young-woo, who anybody who follows me on Twitter might know that I don't particularly like.
He did not get a Merry
much.
Christmas wish last year.
Absolutely not. But he might do this year. Because he was the man, basically, to a little bit of a backstory, who disallowed Bio's goal. He was the main ref on the field in the game against Gyeongnam last year.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a piece about it. I'm not going to talk about it too much more, but it was a poor decision. This time, I think he's redeemed himself by allowing that third goal to go in. And obviously, it was definitely a goal. There's
right
no
call.
question about that.
It was a back pass to Bio.
It was a back pass. And he was on side anyway. He was in line. So it was him. So credit where credit's due. So what I'm saying is they got luck. They had luck on their side as well, which didn't happen last year. So it was just it was a great performance. Defended well. Bio changed the game, and they had that little bit of luck.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I found interesting in this one as well, having watched Daejeon earlier in the week and then coming into this one, it's almost like a disadvantage being second and having to sit there and wait for a little while because you got that time off. And then Daejeon, meanwhile, they won on Wednesday, so like their spirits are up, their mood is up, their cohesion's a little bit better. And then, I mean, going up to Anyang, that's not really that big of a deal for them, and the atmosphere was great from both ends. I think maybe in a normal year when you're more used to playing in front of fans and the home fans can kind of buoy the home side a little bit more, maybe, but this year I think it almost felt even just by having people there in general. It's just an interesting aspect of the K2 playoffs that I'll be keeping an eye on next year as well. The second place team, I'm not going to call it a disadvantage because they're at home and they just need to draw. So they definitely have the advantage, but it almost feels like that momentum really can carry you really far if you're the third place team.
I think we saw the way that Daejeon played in both those games, the difference that it makes, because the manager in the press conference before the Anyang game, Lee Min-sung, had said that actually needing to go and win is better. That's a better mindset to have. It's more comfortable. That was the word that he used, more comfortable. And we saw the difference it made on the Wednesday before that, when only needing to draw.
Yeah.
It was just, it's not really the right mindset to have. You don't want to go out to a game and obviously they wanted to win and they tried to win.
Sure.
But I think we saw the difference in how the players kind of responded to that kind of situation. But now they have to, basically a month to wait until the final. So we'll see how that goes.
I mean, I don't know why we had to rush in the Daejeon match midweek to get this one in on the weekend. Whatever. When we're in charge of scheduling, we'll do things differently, but we're not. And speaking of scheduling, we still don't know who Daejeon's going to be playing. We don't know the 11th place team yet. It's looking like it's either going to be Gangwon, maybe Gwangju will get up there because they won over the weekend. And Songnam did not look good against FC Seoul. Matthew and I will talk about that one soon. But regardless of who they're going to play, is this Daejeon's year?
It does feel like it might be. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, this is the first time that they've made it this far into the final, into the playoffs. They had two failed attempts. They lost in 2018 against a very good Busan team. It was men against boys, really. That time they obviously lost last year in the semi-final, if you want to call it. But I just feel like it is definitely a much better atmosphere around the club. The team has character. They came from behind to win on Sunday against a good Anyang team. They've been a bit naive in the past, I think, a bit wet behind the ears, but they're a bit more streetwise, this bunch of players. The manager got his tactics spot on. He didn't allow too much space for Anyang to exploit, knowing that his team had to attack. And that might have, opened up space for the Anyang to counter. That didn't really happen too much. They won the ball back very quickly. I just think that the way that this team approaches games and the manager, his tactics are very good. He's very analytical, and he seems to be able to get the best out of these players. And
Mm-hmm.
Also, one thing that I would say is that Daejeon don't have one true out-and-out top goal scorer. They have goals coming from all over the park. They have Massa has become their top goal scorer, even in just half a season. They've got Egan Schick scoring some important goals. Won Ki-jong scored some important goals. Bio obviously has scored some important goals. They've got a lot of players as well that really should be playing in K-League 1. You know? Kim Dong-jun, Lee Young-hee, Egan Schick, Massa, Ali Bayev, Kim Min-dok. I mean, Kim Min-dok won the ACL last year, you know? So he can't even get he's on the bench now. So this just shows how strong of a team that they've got. They've got players that shouldn't be in K-League 2. And we haven't really been able to say that before, you know? Last year they had obviously some good players, but it doesn't quite feel like it does this season. This is basically Daejeon's year, and I would say that the fans have suffered a lot over the past 5 or 6 years. I think it's if any set of supporters deserve it, it's Daejeon, because 2015 they finished bottom of K-League 1 on a record low points total of I think 19. They won 4 games all season, 2 of those post split. That was horrendous. The following season, then they finished 7th in K-League 2, despite having the top scorer, Kim Dong-chan, MVP. Then in the following year, 2017, their 20th anniversary year, they finished bottom of the table. Horrendous. 2018, like I said, that they lost against Busan in the playoff semi-finals. And then the year after that, they finished 9th. And then also in that year, they had that whole debacle with the player that they signed for 24 hours, then released him because he had a positive AIDS test, you know? Then at one point, I think it was in the first game of that season, there wasn't enough coaches who had the right qualification to sit on the bench. Then they had, in that same game against Ansan Greeners away, the first game of the season, they'd messed up the name on the back of the player's shirt. His name was Sanzar Tursunov, and they changed his registered name from Tursunov to Sanzar. But clearly there must have been some kind of mix-up, so they had to put his name written on a piece of paper stuck to the back of his shirt. And it was humiliating for the fans, because the press are saying, are you sure this is a professional team? You know?
I mean, I haven't even seen that at Rec League.
Right. So the fans have been through the mill, and this, after Hana Finance Group took over at the end of 2019, they started to believe again. They started to believe. Last year was a little bit of progress. Disappointing to fall short ultimately. But yeah, I think this could be Daejeon's year. It just feels like everything's falling into place. As a fan who's been hurt before, you don't want to get yourself too excited. But I'm not scared of any of the teams in K-League 1, really. Seoul I wouldn't want to face, but I think they'll be fine. Obviously,
they're fine.
They're fine. Songnam, not bothered. Gangwon, I would want to face Gangwon. Gwangju, though, it depends. If they manage to get from 12th into 11th, they'll be jubilant with that. So that's dangerous. But out of those two, the most likely, Songnam, Gangwon, not bothered, but I prefer Gangwon, really.
I mean, as a neutral, I kind of want Gwangju, because you know they're going to concede goals and you know they're going to score goals. So that could be a fun one. But speaking of the bottom half of the table, Matthew Binzer and I are going to go over that after we take a really quick break. So, Paul, thanks for joining us. And for those of you watching live, we will be right back.
FNR is a revolutionary football-dedicated digital platform, the first of its kind in Australia. It provides a 24/7 live online radio platform experience, podcast hub, and acts as a content provider for TV, radio, and digital. Having reached millions of listeners and football fans since launching, FNR is accessible worldwide via its website or app, providing a platform to discuss, debate, and celebrate the world game. We are your voice of football, FNR Football Nation Radio. Welcome back to the K-League United podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Walters, back in the studio with Matthew Binns. Matthew, let's talk about Final B. We had a couple of questions come in during that segment with Paul that we will get to in the mailbag, including one from a Jeonbuk Dragons fan. Those are always the best questions.
It's
always
not you again.
Yeah, I just made a burner account on YouTube so I could just hop in and talk about Jeonbuk in as many places as I could. doesn't sound like a terrible idea. But unfortunately, the Dragons aren't even in Final B. We are in the party that is K-League 2 for another year, but that's fun. And there are tons of teams in the capital region, so I get to see them more often. Anyway, let's talk about what happened over the weekend in Final B, as it's known, as we have to keep calling it here. But anyway, we are into round 36, and I'm gonna save what was the first result. Well, no, there were just great results all over the place. So the Pohang Steelers, the ACL finalist Pohang Steelers, not only lost to Gwangju FC 2-1, but had 2 red cards before any of the scoring got started. Friend of the podcast, Alex Grant, got sent off for a straight red in the 36th minute. He had an interview with Paul Neat this week, so they will be talking about that in next week's pod as we preview the ACL final, where he will be able to play. But because of this red card, his season is essentially done. He'll have maybe one more game after he serves the suspension, but plenty of time to rest for him. But the scoring got started by an own goal, so Gwangju's not going to be too upset about that. And then Reese, if you have not seen his goal from this match, get thyself in front of Twitter, get it in front of you, because it was a goal of the year contender. It was absolutely fantastic. Kang Sang-woo pulled one back in the 88th minute to make this one interesting, but Gwangju FC ended up getting the result that they needed. And Matthew, was this a lifeline, or is it too little too late?
It's certainly a lifeline. They've got 2 games left with the fate very much in their hand. One of their games that is coming up is against Songnam as well. So, and they're also probably going to be playing an Incheon that's safe, and they might not have a better chance, really. And yeah, you said that first goal was an own goal, but I didn't realize it was an own goal until, let's just say, 5 minutes ago, when I may have been making notes. Because it was a rocket, it looked like. It was a rocket from Alexander Adjovic, and I forgot that it came down off the back of the crossbar, hit the keeper on the back of the head and went in. But it kind of shows the confidence they were playing with. And yeah, they did benefit from the 10-man advantage, but that might be the kind of luck that they need. One other player we should mention that is back, although albeit for about 6 seconds, Jonathan. He made his Gwangju debut coming off on Wonsang in the 96th minute, but with a bit of an international break now, if they could get him up to speed, no, he's not going to start, surely not, but he'd be a good option to have from the bench as well.
I mean, look, he made his start for Daegu in K2. He's just going to start doing that for Gwangju next year in K2. I mean, yeah, this is, like I say, it is very interesting for them. They have Songnam and Incheon left. They have 1 win, 1 draw, and 1 loss against Songnam. And Songnam, we'll talk about them shortly. They are not looking great. And like you say, Incheon, they're safe, which we'll also talk about in just 1 second here. But that's a pretty good run of games for Gwangju as they're trying to fight for survival here. So I don't think the schedule could have really lined up too much better for them in that regard. Just one other note on this match before we move on. Pohang, man, it is just all them chips are into the ACL pot at this point, because not only did Grant get a red card in this one, the second red card in the 90th minute was Lee Jun.
Oh, yeah.
Their backup goalkeeper. So Kang Hyun-moo is out. He's getting ankle surgery. Lee Jun has had some terrific moments. Again, that save in ACL is one of the best that I've seen this year. And he's had some real bad howlers. And for the next 2 league games, they're going to be without him, which is not ideal as they're trying to get ready for ACL. So just rough all over the place there. But I don't really think Pohang cares much about the league at this point. They're currently in 7th. They're on 45 points. They're fine.
The Champions League. Why would they take any? It's not like they're not going to take any real notice of the league now, because there's not going to be a much reward for finishing 7th or 8th, is there? So, yeah, go all in on the ACL, and that's their only way back into Champions League football next season if they can win that game in the final. So,
yeah, exactly.
And also, it's a final, and also the money which Pohang desperately need. Just who cares about these last games? Which is bad news for the teams who might be, hoping that they can do them a favor, but that's the way it is.
Yeah, and that's how it's going to go for them at the end there. And Moving on to a team that needs a favor and almost did one for themselves. Gangwon FC came away with a draw against Incheon United. Kim Dae-woo had a goal in the 74th minute that it could have been so massive for them. But just 4 minutes later, Kim Hyun did what he's been doing lately. The shouts for him on the national team just continue to grow. Kim Hyun with an equalizer that has Incheon safe from relegation.
I know.
With games to go. What is this? What is this?
I've panicked. I thought it means Christmas is around the corner. Surely, like they're not normally safe with this before an international break. They're safe before the final international break of the year. It's unbelievable stuff from Incheon, but kind of we've been saying about them all season. They've just looked a better unit. This team, they look more like a team. Every year, Incheon, they have to fire a manager halfway through the year or something, and something's out of their control, obviously, but. They've had a high turnover of managers, and they look quite settled at the moment. And yeah, great for them. Great for the Incheon fans, I guess. I mean, they are happy. They're probably twiddling their thumbs at home. Not sure what they've got left to do, but I'm sure they won't mind that too much this year.
Yeah. Look, again, I said at the beginning of the season, just finish 9th and have your fans happy. So. According to me in my preseason, what a year for Incheon, and honestly, what a year for Incheon. It's really nice to see them not in the position that we're currently seeing Gwangju and Gangwon and Songnam in. And Songnam find themselves in that position because they lost 3-0 at Seoul Olympic Stadium. Again, it's weird getting used to saying Seoul Olympic Stadium for FC Seoul. I actually went to this game with Michael Redmond. He was not pleased to be going in and seeing a different team there, but that's what it was. Cho Young-uk took advantage of a loose ball in the box, got the scoring started in the 16th minute. A young man that I still think could have done with the spelling K2, but he's been doing all right since I publicly said that. And then Alexander Pulasevic, if you give him the kind of time and space he had on his first goal of the night, that's what happens. He will score on you, and he did, and that was a well-taken goal, but not like the one he scored in the 89th minute, which was a lovely curled effort from just outside of the box, and just emphatically put this one away for FC Seoul, who are now all the way up to 9th place on 43 points. Not safe from relegation. Quite. Gangwon are on 39 points right now, but just a massive, massive win for FC Seoul here, and they continue to look the part. That's back-to-back wins for them now, and they seem to be in good stead. They seem to be in good form. But Songnam, however, time to worry for them, especially they're going to face Gangwon in the last game of the season, and that's going to have massive implications. It feels like that's going to be who's 10th or 11th, or maybe even who's down into 12th. And that season series is even at a win, a draw, and a loss apiece. So, Can Songnam do this?
Yeah, they've got the striker to do so. Mulic is still looking deadly. He might not have got the goal he wanted. He might not have got a goal at the weekend, I should say, rather. But Songnam do have the personnel to do it. Gangwon are in disarray as well. They've sacked their manager. Kim Byung-soo is gone. I don't think we even touched on that too much.
We didn't, actually.
No, he's gone. So Gangwon are managerless. They actually look better, but we've gone past Gangwon. I thought they actually looked all right against Incheon without the manager. But
you can go back. That's fine.
Well,
I mean, Young-soo Ball is finally dead.
But I've never really been inspired too much by the offerings of Namkeel Kim Namil. It's happened again.
The old Kim Namil Namkeel standoff that is.
In Hangul, no, but it's fine. Everybody's like, oh yeah, why would you ever mix those two up? But when you look at it in the romanization,
it's Kim Namil. It's Songnam.
Yes, Kim Namil. I apologize. Yeah, sorry.
Namkeel won Manager of the Month last year with JJ. So.
Exactly. The two managers having very, very contrasting fortunes in the league at present. But yes, Kim Namil, rather. He's not been playing that. Songnam have played better football this year, but we were very critical of him last year, and I don't really think they've improved that much under him this year. Yeah, sure, Mulic has done very well. He's a great striker. It sounds like he's going to be staying on at Songnam. There was contract talks I saw rumoured. But he does waste a lot as well. It should be said.
Well, and
Yeah.
there was just a video out on K-League Twitter today and on YouTube as well of the match that Osmar had keeping Mulic in his pocket over the weekend, which he did a fine job with, as Osmar always does. Before we take a quick break, we did have a question come in just a little bit ago on YouTube. This is from David Harrison asking, who do you think Daejeon will play in the final? Do you think Gwangju could still stay up? So 2 questions for you there, Matthew.
I think Gwangju will stay up.
Oh.
I just feel there's okay, yeah, maybe that is a bit bold, but no, I do feel like there is still a twist in this. They are fighting. We thought they did all right against Seoul for 60 minutes. Yes, they imploded, and they dropped points as well in the game before, but they are fighting. They are scoring goals. I think you got to really start worrying when the goals dry up, and Songnam would probably be more of a concern for the drop. I can see them sneaking into 11th place. Gangwon, they're difficult to judge because it depends if they've got that new manager bounce. FC Seoul up next, though, and you think that FC Seoul, with the consistency they found under Anik-Soo, at the beginning he was a bit all over the place, Anik-Soo, with who he's going to choose. He's now got this regular 11 that he keeps putting out, a few changes each week, but he's got Polosevic playing well. He's got Na Sang-ho doing all right down there. Cho Young-wook is scoring and proving you wrong every week. So Osmar's doing wonders in defence. You think that FC Seoul will probably just want to go, let's put this to bed. And FC Seoul could finish off Gangwon. And then, Gangwon versus Songnam on the last day, I guess it ends in a draw and Gwangju capitalise. Who knows? But yeah, I do think Gwangju, maybe they finish 11th. That might be a more reasonable estimate for them. But
so that's who you think, though? That's who Daejeon's going to face. Because as Paul said, could be the worst case scenario for Daejeon if they get a team that's on the up like that, whereas you would want a team that's kind of coming down.
Yeah,
but I agree with you when you're looking at who Gwangju have left. It's at Songnam, and they have beaten Songnam this year. So and Songnam didn't look great against Seoul, and they struggle to score goals. And like you said, Gwangju haven't been. And then you got Incheon at home on the last day if you're Gwangju, and Incheon they don't care.
It's Gangwon and Songnam both have real crunch games. Gwangju, obviously, they've still got a big game next week, but their last game of the season is Incheon. As long as they can get
they've got work to do, we should say, because Gwangju are on 36 points currently. Gangwon are on 39. So if Gwangju does manage to beat Songnam next time out, then they are still going to need some help.
Yeah, okay.
They'll still need a little bit of help to make sure that they can get there. But like we were saying, you got to expect FC Seoul to win that game. So they could be level on points with Gangnam going into the last day of the season. And wouldn't that just be fun?
Far better goals scored than Gangwon. Well, not far, but three more goals scored than Gangwon. Far more goals than Songnam. So that could also see them just edge it. But
what a relegation battle we're getting this year. I'm going to stick with what I've been saying for weeks and say it's going to be Songnam that Daejeon are going to play, and that works out for me because I can go to the second leg of that very easily. So here's hoping that that's what that is. But I just don't see it from Songnam, and I've been saying they're going to be the ones in 11th. I can't back down from that now. But we're going to take a really quick break. Please keep the questions and comments coming in throughout the show. There have been a couple that we'll get to that have been hanging on for Final A, which we're going to get into right after a really quick break.
Fans, we want to hear from you. You're encouraged to email KLU at info@kleagueunited.com or tweet at KLeague United with any questions, comments or reactions. Or follow us on Facebook to ask directly during one of our live shows.
Welcome back to the K-League United podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Walters, joined in virtual studio. Oh, we used to be able to say in studio and actually mean it as in person. We were sitting at the same table.
Yeah, not anymore. Cats put me off.
How dare you blame the K-League cat and his domain that I get to live in as well. Well, I was going to say, speaking of cats, let's move on, but no, we're saving that one. We're saving the Horangi for last here. We're going to start off, we're going to talk about Jeju United. and a man that just cannot stop scoring, Joo-min Kyu, with a brace in this one. He's up to 21 goals this season, and it was a 2-0 win for Jeju United. And as I said, we had a comment come in. You know what? I'll save it for after the next game. But we had one come in that we'll get to here shortly. But with this, Matthew, can Jeju, can they get that ACL spot? They're not far off from it right now. They are currently in 4th place, just 1 point behind Daegu FC for 3rd, which could be, we should say, the final ACL spot unless things go absolutely bonkers.
It's going to be difficult because both Jeju and Daegu have Jeonbuk and Ulsan, who definitely can't afford to drop points. So you look at their remaining game, Jeju have Suwon FC and Daegu have Suwon Blue Wings. Suwon Blue Wings, I should say. Suwon Blue Wings, they're not really putting up much of a fight anymore. Suwon FC, they're still testing teams, but their defense is too porous. They're just 5 top half games at the end of the season is kind of exposing where they are. I mean, they're a side that's got promoted, haven't they? Really, so we shouldn't really be too harsh on them. And it's great that they're doing what they're doing. You'd think then, based on that Daegu would have the better chance. Daegu could also have Ulsan end of the season, and Ulsan might not be able to win the league. So Daegu could do all right there. But Jeju can do it, certainly. But I think it's too difficult to call. I think Daegu's probably got the better quality.
I think Daegu's going to do it. And we'll move on. We'll talk about their match shortly. But like you were saying, if you look at Jeju's remaining matches, up next they have Ulsan, who they've not beaten this year. They've drawn twice, and one of them was a very dramatic draw. They have lost 3 times out of 3 against Suwon FC this year, and they have 3 draws with Jeonbuk, which is admirable. But I don't know if a draw is going to be enough. I mean, please, Jeju, take some points off of Jeonbuk, please. But we'll talk about that in a second. As alluded to, let's go ahead and move on. Let's talk about Daegu FC and their match. Their 2-1 win over Suwon FC. And Suwon, well, stop me if you've heard this one before. Lars Veldvik scored a goal. But much like Paul and I were talking about Anyang scoring too early, it was probably too early for Suwon FC. He scored in the 7th minute. And then Edgar Silva came back. And when that man is in the mood, there's no stopping him. He got a brace in this one, both of them in the first half. So if you finished watching this one at halftime, you were fine, except for that little red card that Daegu got in the second half. Lee Jin-young sent off, but they were able to hold strong even down to 10 men there. And a big win for Daegu because it keeps them in that ACL spot and it has them bouncing back after a loss last time out. And they need to be in this kind of form going into the FA Cup final against the mightiest of Jeonnam Dragons. But let's go ahead. Let's talk about Daegu, and then we'll switch over to Suwon one more time. But are Daegu going to get ACL through the league, or do you think it's safer for them to put all their eggs in the FA Cup basket?
I think it's safer either way, surely, because they could go for 3rd place and Pohang win the ACL and Jeonnam win the FA Cup, and suddenly Daegu are left with nothing. So you think, and also silverware. Surely you want silverware.
Yeah.
Like,
but I mean, Pohang wins ACL, the Dragons win the FA Cup. What up, Posco party?
They might actually invest. Who knows? But yeah. But yeah, I think if you're Daegu, and if you're a Daegu fan, surely like you're more interested in winning the cup. This is a citizen team that's it's been doing the right things year on year, and it is becoming a Champions League regular, but it's only got one trophy to its name still, the FA Cup in 2018, and it'd be great for them to get another one to lift.
That's true. Yeah. Before we move on to the big match of the weekend, we did have another question come in from Mike Baston on YouTube asking, have both Suwon teams given up on the season as there's nothing left to play for? They will face each other on the final day of the season. We'll have a Suwon derby that we thought might have been for an ACL spot, but at this point, I think that's just going to be for pride, with Suwon FC, the home team in the World Cup stadium. So that's going to be the end of season and stadium moving. Korean football.
Yeah, it'd be an odd experience for the Suwon Blue Wings fans to be in the away end, the Big Bird, and get to get to sit in a position where many sides get to view victories from. So,
oh, shots fired.
Yeah, but I don't think Suwon FC's given up. I think they still look like they're fighting. Yeah, sure, the loss maybe will change their mentality against Jeonbuk, but we're going to talk about perhaps who the fixtures Jeonbuk and Ulsan have got coming up, but they've got a good record against Jeonbuk Suwon this season, and with Lars Veldik and Murillo on the side, and Han Sung-kyu also in that Suwon side, they could just have one more win to kind of upset their former club. But who knows?
All right. All roads lead to Jeonbuk. Fine. Let's talk about it, Matthew. Let's talk about the game you went to in person, the one that everybody was saying was a good ad for the league, and that's true in a lot of ways. But Jeonbuk came away 3-2 winners over Ulsan Hyundai in very dramatic fashion. Songmin Kyu popped up with his first goal in a while. That was in the 24th minute. Former Jeonnam Dragon Im Jong-un got on the score sheet for Ulsan, and then Roo Jae-moon gave Jeonbuk the lead that looked like it was gone for good when Lee Chung-young popped up in the 79th minute to get a goal. But then Stanislav Ilyachenko, a fine header from him, but the cross from Kunimoto on this one.
Well, everything about it. Everything about that goal. Just the way Kim Jin-soo shoulder barged Lee Dong-jun. It was just like a nice closure of how Lee Dong-jun, we've been saying how Lee Dong-jun been tormenting Kim Jin-soo in the past. Just nice to see Kim Jin-soo shoulder barge him and effectively floor him. Shouldn't laugh too much, but it was absolute elation, all of this.
I didn't hate it.
Passed it to Kunimoto, Kim Jin-soo with the inside overlap and taking a few players out. Not this time, not physically. Kunimoto with a cross, it just hung in the air for ages, and I watched it. And I can't really remember. I've seen it back several times, countless times, as many times as Paul has been watching that game at the weekend. It just hung in the air, and I saw Ilyachenko, and it was just all in slow motion, and then suddenly just the fireworks go off, and everybody's screaming. Peter's next to me, and don't let him fool you. Considers himself a neutral. He was jumping up and down like no man's business. It was absolute bedlam, and then I know I'm going. But I put a video out there that Jeonbuk filmed. They filmed something for a document. They do a season documentary every year, and they had the sideline cameras going up filming this, and they caught. So they've got the whole goal, and it's just when it goes in, everybody's running over to Ilyachenko, and it's the bit that gets me. Lee Bom-young, substitute goalkeeper, is running. And he's doing windmills with his arms. Kim Sang-shik's running over. And yeah, it was a delight. And I know it fits the time-old narrative of Ulsan bottling it. But the season isn't over. We'll get into that in a minute. I don't think the season is far from over. But it was...
Come on.
No, we can get into it. Jeonbuk haven't beaten Jeju or Suwon this season. And they've got both of them on the way. And they've got Jeju, we're fighting for an AFC Champions League place.
It wasn't when Jeonbuk had this kind of motivation, this kind of momentum, also being knocked out of 2 other tournaments. This is the only chance for a trophy. This game was it. But we had a question come in that I want to get to before we move on to talk about the permutations afterwards. This is from Kwan Kipum watching on YouTube, asking, what did you think about Lee Dong-jun's form in his returning match against Jeonbuk? How much of a role can he play in the upcoming crucial matches, in your view? Again, you were there for this one. So you saw him in person. You were able to watch a little bit more. Again, I wasn't... I obviously wanted Ulsan to win this one, but I wasn't too upset to see him get shoulder barged down by Kim Jin-soo, a player that I really like, and I just like the physical side of the game. But outside of that, what did you see in the match?
Well, I've actually got the stats in front of me. He made 3 passes. Wow. He did a few dribbles. He didn't come on for long. Sure, he's going to be. I think he'll have a big impact. But he's coming back from an injury. I don't think. Yeah, they had to play him, I think, but I don't know. It didn't have much of an impact in this one. And I don't want to flip it back to Jeonbuk, but the player that's probably going to have more of an impact in the crucial matches is probably Modo Barrow. who was fantastic to come back. We'd seen him on national team duty for Gambia, but he hadn't actually been anywhere near the Jeonbuk squad since the summer. Hadn't been in any of the sub benches. Rumours were swelling that he might not be keen on staying in Jeonbuk. There was transfer rumours going out and things, but no, it was an injury, and he's come back full fitness. And before Lyachenko, Barrow had several chances to win this as well. He was really, really impactful. And yeah, if we're talking about players that are coming back that are going to really affect this title race, he might be the key for Jeonbuk, I think, now. Seeing him on the pitch, he looked fit. And yeah, once he finds his scoring touch again, it's another goal threat for Jeonbuk in such a crucial point in the season. Lee Dong-jun, though, to answer your question, it's just a subdued return, but he will, it's Lee Dong-jun, he's going to perform.
Yeah, I think he's going to be just fine. And as you alluded to, Jeonbuk have remaining Suwon FC, a team that they have struggled against, Daegu FC, a team that they traditionally do pretty well against, and Jeju United, a team that, as you pointed out, they have not beaten this year. That's who Jeonbuk have left in the run-in. And Ulsan Hyundai are Ulsaning, as they tend to do every year. They have lost 4 out of 5 in all competitions. The one win that they got was against Suwon FC. So just tanking at the absolute wrong time, he said, for the 3rd year in a row. But they have Jeju United, Suwon Samsung Blue Wings, and Daegu FC remaining on their schedule. So I guess you could say that's slightly more favorable. I think Jeju is going to be a tough game for them, but that one will be at home. Suwon Blue Wings, I don't think, are really playing for much right now. Ulsan have to win that one. They've got to win that one. So they should at least be keeping pace, or, if somebody can do the world a favor and take some points off of Jeonbuk, then Ulsan end at home with Daegu FC making the trip down. And that'll be before the second leg of the FA Cup final. So Daegu won't know their fate there. So none of these are easy. This is the brilliance of the split, is that none of these matches are easy, but we'll see how it goes.
I personally think if Jeonbuk can beat Suwon FC this weekend, then I think that's when we can probably start getting we can at least put the Hyundai on the trophy, obviously. But yeah, I think I think they haven't beaten Suwon FC this season. They haven't beaten Jeju this season. They've lost once to Daegu this season as well. So they're just keeping things in Jeonbuk's side of things here. But they beat Suwon FC here, who really, they haven't got anything left to play for. But if they have, it's going to be probably this weekend. Yeah, not this weekend, rather.
So yeah, that's going to be on the 21st. Yeah.
Yes, that's in Suwon as well. So I think if Jeonbuk can come away with the result against Suwon FC, and then I think we can probably start wrapping this up.
Let the Murillo and Veldvik show shine bright in Suwon for us, please, please, please. There were a couple more questions that came in during that segment, but we'll get to those and everything else in a brief version of the Ulji Luis mailbag. We'll be right back.
Ulji Lewis is your neighborhood British bar and cafe located in the Old Giro district of Seoul. Decorated in old English antiques and furniture for a true homely feel, you can enjoy homemade scones, cakes and afternoon tea during the day, and traditional British favourites like beef stew, English ale, and a fine selection of wines at night. Available for private parties or simply an evening out, Ulji Lewis is sure to become your favourite neighbourhood pub. Be sure to mention K-League United at the bar during your visit and you'll get 10% off your bill.
Welcome back to the K-League United podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Walters. Into the Ulji Luis mailbag we go with Matthew Binns.
Okay, first out of the mailbag is Suwon FC fan via Twitter, and asking about what positions do you think Suwon FC should reinforce next season? I think we should sign at least one starting left defender and 2 midfielders because Lee Young-jae has to do military service. Also, we'll have to wait for the departures. Kind of answering his own question there. Certainly, yeah. Certainly Lee Young-jae would probably have to be replaced. I mean, you probably want a backup to Lars Veldvik, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you I mean, he scored a lot of goals, but then the next top scorer is Yang Dong-hyun, who's got 7, but he's 35, and you never know when his last season is coming. I mean, you can still put him in at 35. But
yeah, but he spent a lot of time hurt this year, didn't he?
Yeah, so you'd think they could do with somebody just there to ease the pressure off Veldwijk, or just in case Veldwijk gets injured. It's just good to have somebody there who can help shoulder the pressure there. They've also just not really. They've got a leaky defense. They've conceded the most goals in the league this season, I believe. 54 shipped, which is not a great look. Most of those, well, 10 of those, but have been from headers. 8 have been from penalties as well. So they've got to cut that out. But 10 have been from headers. They are doing some things right. Like only 3 of the goals they've conceded have been from outside of the box. That's one of the fewest in the league. They are managing to shut down threats on the edge of the box. It's in the box where they don't seem to be doing so well. They've got the 3rd highest shots against, 2nd lowest. They're not blocking them. 2nd lowest shots blocked. Yeah, they've got okay defensive duels, but that's mainly because Park Joo-ho features in the top 5. After Park Joo-ho, there's nobody for ages from Suwon FC. So they've just really got a weak defense. So, replace the talent that's going to the military, but also just reinforce that defense.
Yeah, I think Lachlan Jackson, I think, will also be all right there. Jackson 5, as you love to refer to him. And yeah, get at least one more maybe lockdown center back there. And as far as a backup striker option or somebody that I think could do a job for them, I like the idea of seeing what Park Chung-joon could do in the first division. He got 13 goals for a not great Bucheon FC side this year. And that was an anomaly for sure. He's never scored anywhere near that much. He scored 2 for Gyeongnam the year before that, but over 2,000 minutes this year, 13 goals. It feels like a very Suwon FC move to maybe take a punt on him and see what you got, because Veldwijk he's locked in for a couple more years. You've got him. He's going to be your main guy, but could be interesting. And then that's somebody that doesn't take up an international roster spot. So we'll see. Where I do think the international roster spot, maybe it would be best used get a center back pairing for Jackson, get a couple of Aussies back there maybe. Or, I don't know, call me crazy, ASEAN player quota.
I mean, call me crazy, yeah. And Byungjun, get him back.
I mean, I don't think he and Veldwijk work. They're too similar. They're not going to work together.
Yeah,
but
I'm sure he won't be wanting to come back after making it to K-League 1 and then being surplus to requirements. But yeah, anyway, we'll move on. Next in the mailbag is Tom is Good via Instagram. Who will be the next K-League talent to move to Europe?
For me, I think it's going to be a K-League talent that just moved back from Europe. I don't know if Paek Sung-ho is going to be around for too long. He's looked really good the second half of this season. If Jeonbuk win the title this year, which they probably will, I got to imagine that there'll be some European clubs that would want him back that quickly. Am I crazy here?
No, I can see what you're getting at. Probably. Sorry, I actually cut out for a second. I didn't know what. I thought I could wing it. You froze, and I'm like, "Yep, no, that was your name. That was the name you were going to say." And I was like, "Okay."
I said Paek Sung-ho.
There we go.
You might have heard of him.
I have heard of him. No, you were talking about a Jeonbuk player, and I was thinking Song Min-kyu has been attracting interest, because I was going to say Song Min-kyu, and I didn't want to say, well, I'm going to say Song Min-kyu, and then you've just been talking about him. Song Min-kyu, I think personally might attract some interest. There have been rumors. He was attracting interest before Pohang sold him. I could see Jeonbuk trying to cash on that. As for Paek Sung-ho, as to answer what you were trying to say to me, he's had a good season. Certainly, I think he might want to stay a bit longer and just shore up his place in the national team, because he's starting to get picked by Bento now. Another season here, he seems to be enjoying life here. Jeonbuk seemed to enjoy having him. I wouldn't see why he'd want to move so soon, but who knows?
Yeah, another player that I think could move was just named the Player of the Month for October, and that's Lee Dong-kyung. I think he's of the age that teams would want to sign him. He's showing up in big moments this year. I think he'd be a really great talent. We've got just one more question that came in way back. This is the first question that we got during the live stream. Asking, this is Mike Baston again coming in on YouTube, asking if there's any weight to the rumors of Gamba Osaka's Kim Young-gwan joining Ulsan.
Yeah, it sounds like his contract's up. Gamba Osaka apparently want to offer him a new contract, but he's also getting options as well from Ulsan. It is a bit interesting because he is he is from Jeonju, and I don't know whether Jeonbuk could be tempted into another centre back. They have got Hong Jong-ho, who is apparently friends with him, and Kim Min-hyuk, but you never know. Kim Min-hyuk has been rotated in and out a lot this season. Perhaps Kim Sang-sik might be considering another move for centre back. But yeah, rumours to Ulsan, that seems likely where he's going. He would likely come in to replace Dave Bultuis, I imagine, unless Dave Bultuis is staying for another season. I'm not too sure what's been decided there.
Yeah, fair point there. Got a couple of folks just watching and enjoying life. An FC Seoul fan watching right now. A crazy FC Seoul fan. Thanks for watching. Anyway, let's move on to the next question here.
Next question is from Outdoor Weigukin on Instagram stories. The Seoul Anyang derby is such a missed opportunity. It's more of an exclamation.
It's not really a question.
Yeah.
Thanks, John Christian, who is still living it up in Georgia. And John, if you're listening, congrats to the Atlanta Braves, World Series champions. Turns out all you have to do is beat other teams from America to win the World Series. I love baseball. I miss MLB. Congrats. But yeah, I mean, for a second there, it looked like we might get Anyang and FC Seoul in the promotion relegation final, which that could have been fun, but we didn't.
We have Steph Badroff on Instagram stories. We have actually answered it, I think, though. It was, what odds would you give on Gwangju of pulling off an inch on like Great Escape? We've kind of already touched on it, though. Yeah. I think
you said yes. I'm not letting you back down from this. Yeah, you said they were going to survive.
I'm going to look like a genius. That's yeah. Got Caluso88 on Instagram stories. Thoughts on the length of time Daejeon have to wait for the pro relegation playoff? Is it because of international fixtures?
Yeah, no, that's Paul and I alluded to this a little bit, but I mean, I just think it's absolutely insane. I get the idea that they wanted the first round of the K2 playoffs so Jeonnam could get on vacation early. Well, they didn't schedule it so Jeonnam could get on vacation early, but whichever team. But I mean, if you just put that at the weekend, you're talking about a 3 or 4 day difference. So to me, the first round of the K2 playoffs should have been this weekend, Saturday or Sunday, where more fans can go, where you can have it during the day so it's warmer, it's nicer outside. People can get to the stadium, especially in a weekend when you know that you can have home and away fans there. So you get more butts and seats. More people will actually watch it as well, whereas it was a Wednesday night and it was competing against K1 games that were on. And then you push the Anyang match into the next weekend, which would have been this weekend, which is an international break where we don't have any K-League. And, you know, K2 has played through international breaks before. It's not necessarily ideal because you're probably going to lose Moya if you're FC Anyang. So that's why they forced this in. But it was a weird one for me to just rush everything like this, because no matter who won that one, you have to wait for the K-League 1 season to end, which ends December 5th. So now Anyang have to just chill. They played one game as well. You know, or not Anyang, sorry. Daejeon just have to chill after playing 2 games. So I don't like it.
No, you think that perhaps they could have scheduled it a little bit better, perhaps remove any midweek fixtures earlier in the season, so it could be back a week and have them both after the international break. You could have had the international break, end the season this weekend, had the international break and played the playoffs one per weekend, and then it would have been finished more or less just in time for the pro relegation playoff. I mean, also because of Pohang in the AFC Champions League, the final B of the K-League 1 could, in theory, finish a week earlier if it wanted to. It's not. It's going to finish on the final weekend. And I can understand K-League in some respects wanting to do that as one big final weekend, but they could have actually finished the final B the weekend before, we'd know who's relegated, know who's down, and then you could have actually also had the pro relegation final on the day before the final A. There's lots of ways of rearranging it. I think there was definitely a better way of spreading it out, though. I'm sure there is something I've missed why they haven't been spread out the way they are. As you said, probably teams want to get on holiday, want to get their season over with. But yeah, and that's everything I have in the mailbag.
All right. Well, if there's any other way for folks to get involved, why don't you tell them how they can do so, Matthew?
I'm going to get this right this week.
Yeah, you are.
If they'd like to get involved with us, they can do so on social media. We're on all the platforms, most of them anyway: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. And you can find us all at K-League United. If you'd like to do more than just interact with us and also support us as well, you can do so on Patreon. That's patreon.com/K-League United. On there, we have a number of features, full-length interviews. We have we have a lot of stuff going on, but mostly we have our So Rare features, which we publish the injury news every week, weekly team injury news. That's for the K2 champion, the $5 tier. But if you want to go for the K1 champion tier, which is the $10 tier, we also throw in the starting lineups there as well. You can find, lots of other things there, podcast extras as well. Tier start as low as $1, $3, and there are also a $5 option available.
That's right. And if you listen to this if you want to listen to this podcast live, I should say, I screwed up mine after I said I wasn't going to do it. If you want to listen to this podcast live, you can do so every Thursday on Football Nation Radio. And now is the time to tune in to FNR as the A-League season approaches. I should say the A-League men's season approaches. Do love that rebrand down there. And they'll get you up to speed on all of the A-League men teams that are about to kick off. And that is a delightful, delightful competition to watch. And hopefully it'll still be available on YouTube this year. I'm not sure about the broadcasting rights. But anyway, back to this podcast. Wherever you listen to your podcast, if you leave us a review, 5 stars preferred, then you'll be entered into this month's K-League Kit Contest, which didn't even do this one on purpose, but it was timed out quite well. It's a Daejeon Citizen, not Daejeon Hana Citizen, a Daejeon Citizen goalkeeper top from their 20th anniversary season with the 20th anniversary crest, which was the beginnings of their current crest. So if you want to get in on that, all you have to do is leave us a review. But for now, from Matthew Binns, I'm Ryan Walters. Thanks so much for watching.
전조선 공격 폭격기 킹 신